Kim Tae-hyun's body had been a graveyard for 2 years, no sensation, no desire, nothing below the waist since the bomb that nearly killed him. Then a black paramedic's hands pressed against his bleeding chest in that blood-soaked alley, and every dead nerve exploded to life, like lightning through a corpse. Heat flooded through him, pooling low and urgent, his body responding in ways he'd forgotten were possible, hard, immediate, undeniable. He grabbed her wrist with desperate strength, pulled her close enough to feel her breath, and roared the question that would damn them both. "What have you done to me, Angel?"
What did you do to me?
His dark eyes were wild with shock and raw hunger, his grip bruising as desire clawed its way back from the dead. She saw the beast wake in real time and ran, leaving him alive, aroused, and absolutely obsessed. But you can't resurrect a man's desire and expect him not to hunt you down. If you're already hooked and want to see where this impossible connection leads, hit that subscribe button right now. Trust me, you won't want to miss a single moment of what happens when a broken mafia king meets the one woman who can wake his beast. Let's get into what happened. The alley reeked of copper and rain. Amara Cruz pressed her hands against the wound, feeling warm blood pulse between her fingers. The man beneath her hands should have been screaming, should have been thrashing, should have been doing anything except staring at her with those impossibly dark eyes. "Stay with me," she commanded, ripping open another gauze pack. He didn't respond, just kept staring, like he was seeing her for the first time, like she was something impossible. Then his hand shot up, gripping her wrist with surprising strength. "Who are you?" His voice was rough, accented, Korean, deep enough to vibrate through her bones. "I'm the person keeping you alive. Now let go so I can work." But he didn't let go. His grip tightened, and something shifted in his expression. Shock. Recognition. Hunger. "What's happening to me?" The question came out broken, confused. "You're bleeding out. That's what's happening. Now." "No." He pulled her closer, his other hand reaching for her face. "I can feel you. I can feel everything." His eyes widened, and a sound tore from his throat. Part roar, part disbelief. Amara jerked back, fear spiking through her adrenaline. This wasn't normal. Patients didn't react like this. Didn't look at her like she'd performed a miracle. "I have to go," she stammered, grabbing her bag. "Wait." But she was already running, her heart pounding, leaving him bleeding in that alley with questions she couldn't answer. She didn't know she'd just touched the most dangerous man in the city. She didn't know she'd woken something that had been dead for 2 years. She didn't know that Kim Tae-hyun, the ruthless Korean mafia king, would tear the city apart to find her again. All she knew was that when her hands touched his skin, something had passed between them. Something electric. Something impossible. Something that would change both their lives forever. Amara's hands wouldn't stop shaking. She sat in her tiny apartment, still wearing her blood-stained jacket, staring at her palms like they belonged to someone else. 3 years as a paramedic, and she'd never had a patient react like that. Never felt that kind of current pass between her and another human being. Her phone buzzed. Text from her supervisor. "Where the hell are you? You missed the last 4 calls." She should respond. Should come up with an excuse. Should do her job. Instead, she walked to the bathroom and scrubbed her hands until they were raw. But she could still feel him. The heat of his skin. The desperation in his grip. The way he looked at her like she was water and he was dying of thirst. "Get it together, Amara," she whispered to her reflection. But the woman staring back looked as shaken as she felt. Dark brown skin. Natural hair pulled into a messy bun. Eyes too wide. Lips trembling. She splashed cold water on her face and returned to the living room, her gaze landing on the photograph that had driven her for 3 years. Her father. Rafael Cruz smiled from the frame, frozen in happier times. Before he got involved with the cartels. Before he disappeared. Before he left her alone to pick up the pieces of a life he'd shattered. Finding him was why she'd become a paramedic in the first place. Why she worked the roughest parts of the city. Why she treated people without asking questions, building a network of contacts in the underworld. And tonight, she might have just destroyed all of that. Because she knew who that man was. had recognized him the moment she saw his face despite the blood and shadows. Kim Tae-hyun, the Korean mafia king who controlled half the city's underground operations. The man whose name made hardened criminals nervous. The man her father had tried to kill 2 years ago. Across the city, in a penthouse that overlooked his empire, Tae-hyun stood at the window while his personal doctor stitched the bullet wound in his side. "You were lucky," Dr. Han said, tying off the thread. "Another inch and you'd be dead." Lucky. Tae-hyun almost laughed. 2 years ago, he'd survived an assassination attempt that killed 4 of his men. The explosion had left him with nerve damage that doctors said was permanent. Peripheral neuropathy throughout his lower body. Sexual dysfunction. Complete loss of sensation from the waist down. For 24 months, he'd felt nothing. Not pain. Not pleasure. Not the hunger that once defined him. His enemies whispered he was weak now. Broken. Past his prime. His own men looked at him with something resembling pity. And Tae-hyun had accepted it. Accepted that part of his life was over. That he'd spend the rest of his days as half a man, going through the motions of ruling an empire while the fire inside him stayed cold and dead. Until tonight. Until her boss, his second-in-command, Min-jun, stood in the doorway. "We've cleared the area. No sign of who set up the ambush. But we're still looking. Find the woman instead." Min-jun's eyebrows rose. In 2 years, nothing had broken Tae-hyun's cold composure. "Sir, the paramedic who found me. Black woman, late 20s, about 5'6", natural hair. She saved my life and then ran. I want her found. And when we locate her, bring her to me." The words came out more possessive than Tae-hyun intended, but he didn't care. For the first time in 2 years, when her hands touched his skin, he'd felt something. Heat spreading through dead nerves. Sensation flooding back like a tidal wave. His body responding in ways he'd forgotten were possible. Desire. Raw and violent and absolutely terrifying. He needed to understand why. Needed to see if it was real or just a hallucination brought on by blood loss. He needed her. "Consider it done," Min-jun said, disappearing. Tae-hyun returned to the window, touching his side where she'd pressed her hands. Even now, hours later, he could feel the ghost of her touch. Could remember the way her dark eyes had widened when he grabbed her wrist. Could hear her voice commanding him to stay with her. She'd been terrified when he reacted. Had run like he was a monster. Maybe he was. But she'd woken that monster from a long sleep, and now it was hungry. 3 days passed in agonizing normalcy. Amara threw herself into work, taking double shifts, treating patients with mechanical efficiency. Anything to stop thinking about him. About the way he'd looked at her. About the electricity that had passed between them. It didn't work. Her phone buzzed constantly with unknown numbers. She never answered. Changed her route home. Started looking over her shoulder. On the 4th day, her partner Jerry called her over to the ambulance. "Hey, Amara. A special request came in. They're asking for you specifically." Her stomach dropped. "Who?" "Didn't say. Just gave an address in the financial district. Said it was urgent." She knew she shouldn't go. Knew it was probably him pulling strings. But some traitorous part of her wanted to see him again. Needed to confirm that what she'd felt was real. "I'll take it," she heard herself say. The address led to a luxury high-rise. The kind of building where doormen wore suits and the lobby had marble floors. A man in a black suit waited at the entrance. "Miss Cruz. Please follow me." "How do you know my name?" "Mr. Kim is expecting you." So it was a trap. She should run. Should call for backup. Should do literally anything except follow this man into the elevator. But curiosity won. They rode to the 30th floor in silence. The doors opened directly into a penthouse that screamed wealth and power. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city. Modern furniture. Art that probably cost more than she made in a year. And standing at the window, hands in his pockets, was him. Kim Tae-hyun looked different without blood covering his face. Devastating, actually. Sharp jawline. Dark hair swept back. Broad shoulders filling out an expensive suit. He turned as she entered, and those impossibly dark eyes locked on her. You came, he said. Your man didn't give me much choice. There's always a choice. You made yours. Amara set her bag down, crossing her arms. You had me tracked down. That's not an invitation. That's intimidation. If I wanted to intimidate you, you'd know it. He moved closer, each step deliberate. I wanted to thank you for saving my life. You could have sent a fruit basket. A smile tugged at his lips. I don't do fruit baskets. No. You do private investigators and manipulation. Much more personal. You're angry. I'm cautious. I don't know you. Don't know what you want. And I definitely don't make house calls to strange men who have me followed. I'm Taehyun. Kim Taehyun. Now we're not strangers. That's not how this works. He stopped a few feet away, studying her with an intensity that made her skin prickle. What's your name? She hesitated, then decided honesty was safer than lies. Men like him had resources. Probably already knew everything about her. Amara. Amara Cruz. Amara. He said it slowly, like he was tasting each syllable. Do you know who I am? I've heard stories. And yet you helped me anyway. Why? I'm a paramedic. I help people who are bleeding. It's not complicated. Isn't it? Another step closer. You didn't call it in. Treated me in an alley and disappeared. That's not protocol. Maybe I hate paperwork. Or maybe you recognized me. Knew that involving authorities would complicate things. She held his gaze, refusing to back down. Is there a point to this interrogation? Because I have actual patients who need me. The point, Taehyun said, his voice dropping, is that when you touched me in that alley, something impossible happened. You didn't die. That's not impossible. That's just medicine. I felt it, Amara. Those 4 words hung in the air between them. Felt what? She asked, though part of her already knew. Everything. He closed the distance until only inches separated them. For 2 years, I've felt nothing. Nerve damage from an assassination attempt left me completely numb from the waist down. No pain. No pleasure. No sensation at all. Doctors said it was permanent. Irreversible. Understanding flickered across her face. But when I touched you, I felt it. All of it. Your hands on my skin. Heat spreading through my body. Sensations I thought were gone forever. He reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, he took her hand. And right now, I feel this. Amara's pulse jumped beneath his fingers. She could feel her heart hammering, her breath coming faster. This close, she could see flecks of gold in his dark eyes. Could smell his cologne, something expensive and understated. Could feel that same electricity from the alley crackling between them. That's not medically possible, she whispered. I know. But it's happening. She pulled her hand away, wrapping her arms around herself. I don't understand. I'm not special. I didn't do anything different than I would for any patient. And yet here we are. This is insane. You're telling me that somehow randomly, my touch fixed 2 years of nerve damage? That doesn't happen. That's not how medicine works. I don't pretend to understand it. But I know what I felt. What I'm feeling right now, standing this close to you. The air between them grew thick with tension. Amara felt caught between the urge to run and the desire to lean closer. To test if what she'd felt was real. I should go, she finally said. Stay. Please. The please surprised her. Men like him didn't say please. Didn't ask. They commanded and expected obedience. Why? So you can run more tests? Figure out if I'm your personal miracle cure. So I can understand why you're the only thing that's made me feel alive in 2 years. The vulnerability in his voice stopped her. She looked at him, really looked, and saw past the expensive suit and dangerous reputation. Saw the loneliness there. The desperation. The exhaustion of carrying power without feeling anything beneath it. She understood that. Maybe too well. 1 hour, she heard herself say. I'll stay for 1 hour. You can ask your questions. Then I leave, and your people don't follow me again. Agreed. But even as he said it, Taehyun knew it was a lie. Now that he'd found her, now that she'd woken something he thought was dead forever, he had no intention of letting Amara Cruz walk out of his life. They sat in his study, glasses of wine between them that neither had touched. "Tell me about the assassination attempt," Amara said. Taehyun raised an eyebrow. "That's your first question? You said your condition came from nerve damage. I want to understand what happened." Most people avoided asking about his scars, too afraid of what the answer might reveal. But Amara looked at him with genuine curiosity, mixed with concern. He found himself wanting to answer. 2 years ago, a man named Rafael Cruz decided he wanted my territory. He was small-time, ambitious, stupid. He partnered with another organization and planted a bomb at a peace negotiation. He watched her face carefully when he said the name. She went very still. Just for a second. "The explosion killed 4 of my men instantly," Taehyun continued. "I survived, but the blast threw me into a support beam. Crushed my spine." "I'm sorry," Amara said, her voice softer. "That must have been terrifying. Terror requires feeling. Mostly I was angry." "And the person who did it? Rafael Cruz? Did you find him?" There it was. That hint of desperation beneath the casual question. "He disappeared before my men could reach him. Rumor says he's dead. I think he's hiding, waiting for another chance." Amara's fingers tightened around her wine glass. "And if you found him, what would you do?" "Kill him. Slowly. Make sure everyone knows what happens to people who betray me." She flinched. Taehyun filed that reaction away. She wasn't just familiar with Rafael Cruz's name. She had a personal connection. But not tonight. Tonight was about something else. "My turn," he said. "Why did you really help me?" Amara took a sip of wine, buying time. "You want the truth?" "Always. I was scared. When I saw you in that alley, dying, I thought about all the people I've lost. My mother when I was 14. My father 3 years ago. I couldn't watch another person slip away when I had the power to save them." The raw honesty cut through him. "Your father. How did you lose him?" "He got involved with the wrong people. Made bad choices. One day he was there, the next he was gone. Nobody. No closure. Just questions no one will answer. And you're still looking for him." Her eyes snapped to him. "How did you?" "I had you investigated. Your apartment is covered in clippings, reports, interview notes. You've been searching for something for 3 years." Anger flashed across her face. "You invaded my privacy. I needed to know who you were." "Why? Because I touched you? That doesn't give you the right to dig into my life." She was right. It didn't. But Taehyun had stopped caring about rights and wrongs a long time ago. "You're right," he admitted. "I crossed a line. But understand something, Amara. I'm not a good man. I do what's necessary to protect what's mine. You walked into my world when you touched me. That means I need to know everything about you. I'm not in your world. I saved your life. That's it. Then why are you still here?" The question hung between them. She could have left after 5 minutes. Could have refused to answer. Could have walked out. But she was still here. "I don't know," she admitted. "I do." Taehyun stood, moving until he was close enough to catch her scent. Something floral mixed with antiseptic. "You feel it too. This pulls between us." "That's crazy." "Is it? Look at me and tell me you don't feel anything." Amara stood, meeting his challenge. She was tall, but he still had inches on her. She tilted her head back to hold his gaze, and the defiance in her eyes made his pulse race. "What I feel," she said carefully, "is confused. You're a dangerous stranger. I should be running. But you're not." "No, I'm not." They stood inches apart, the air thick with unspoken words. Taehyun reached out slowly, his fingers brushing her cheek. The touch sent electricity through his nerves. His body responded instantly, powerfully, reminding him of everything he'd lost. Amara's breath hitched. Her eyes widened. "This is insane," she whispered. "Completely. I should go." "You should." Neither moved. Taehyun's thumb traced her bottom lip. Soft. Perfect. His control, carefully maintained for 2 years, began cracking. The beast inside him, dormant for so long, clawed at its cage. He wanted her. Needed her in ways that went beyond physical sensation. "Taehyun," she breathed. Hearing his name on her lips nearly destroyed him. He leaned closer, close enough that their lips almost touched. Tell me to stop. I should. But will you? The moment stretched. He could hear his heartbeat. Could feel the heat radiating from her skin. Could see desire warring with common sense in her eyes. Then his phone rang. They both jumped apart. Taehyun grabbed it with more force than necessary. What? Boss. Minjun's voice was urgent. The Kozlov family just hit one of our warehouses. 5 men down. Reality crashed back. His world. His responsibilities. 20 minutes. He hung up and looked at Amara. I have to go. She nodded, relief and disappointment mixing on her face. Minjun will drive you home. I can take a cab. Amara. He caught her hand. Let me make sure you get home safely. After a moment, she nodded. In the elevator, silence stretched between them. Taehyun's mind raced. He needed to deal with the Kozlov situation. Needed to remind the city why crossing him was fatal. But more than that, he needed to figure out what to do about Amara Cruz. Because she was dangerous. Not just because she woke his desire. Because she made him want things he'd given up on. Made him feel human again. And in his world, being human was the deadliest weakness. For days passed. Amara worked double shifts, treated patients, avoided thinking about Taehyun. It didn't work. She felt his touch like a phantom. Saw his eyes every time she closed her own. Heard his voice whispering her name. Her phone buzzed constantly. Unknown numbers. Messages that said simply, "Are you okay?" She never responded. On the 5th day, everything changed. She was restocking the ambulance when Jerry called her over. Special request. Private call. They're asking for you. Her stomach dropped. Who? Didn't say. Address in an industrial area. Every instinct screamed danger. But she went anyway. The address led to a construction site. Empty. Abandoned. Hello, she called. Arms grabbed her from behind. She screamed, driving her elbow back. Her training kicked in. She twisted, broke free. But there were 3 of them. A bag went over her head. Hands locked her arms. She kicked, fought, scratched. Stop struggling, a voice said. Russian accent. Terror flooded her. Not Taehyun's men. Someone else. When the bag came off, Amara was in a warehouse. Concrete floors. Metal beams. The smell of rust and decay. A man stood before her. Tall. Blonde. Scarred. Miss Cruz, he said, accent thick. You've been difficult to track. Who are you? Victor Kozlov. And you're going to help me destroy Kim Taehyun. Wait, it gets so much more intense. But before we see what happens when a mafia king loses the one thing that makes him feel alive, show me you're invested in this story. Hit that like button if you're Team Taehyun and Amara. Drop a comment with fire if you felt that tension between them. And if you're not subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Because what's about to happen next will have you on the edge of your seat. Let's see how far he'll go to get her back. Taehyun knew something was wrong before Minjun spoke. Boss. They took her. Amara Cruz. The world stopped. For 2 years, he'd felt nothing. No fear. No rage. That control shattered. When? His voice was deadly quiet. An hour ago. They lured her to a construction site. Where is she? We're working on it. But the boss, Victor Kozlov, sent a message. He knows who she is. Minjun pulled out his phone, showing Taehyun a photograph. Victor Kozlov, standing next to a younger version of himself. And between them was Rafael Cruz. The pieces clicked. They were partners, Taehyun said slowly. Rafael and Victor. The assassination attempt. Victor was the backer. Yes. And Rafael had a daughter. Victor thinks if he has her, he can draw Rafael out. Use him to get to you. Taehyun's hands clenched. Amara wasn't just some random woman. She was his enemy's daughter. Connected to the man who'd tried to destroy him. But none of that mattered. Because Victor had taken her. Was holding her. And the thought sent rage pouring through him like fire. Gather everyone, Taehyun ordered. Every man. Every resource. Find that warehouse. Boss, we need strategy. I don't care about strategy. She's in danger because of me. We find her. Now. Minjun stared. In 2 years, Taehyun had never lost control. But this was different. This was Amara. Understood. As Minjun left, Taehyun stood at the window, staring at the city. For the first time in years, he felt real fear. Not for himself. For her. The woman who'd woken his desire. Who'd made him feel human. Who'd looked past the monster to the man beneath. The woman whose father had tried to kill him. I'm coming, he whispered. Hold on. Victor circled Amara like a predator. You don't know where your father is? He asked. I've been looking for 3 years, Amara said. If I knew, do you think I'd be working as a paramedic? Victor struck her. Not hard enough to break, but enough to ring her ears. Lying won't help. I'm not lying. He crouched before her, pale eyes cold. Your father and I were partners. We planned Taehyun's death together. But Raphael got cold feet. Warned him at the last second. That's why the bomb didn't kill him. Amara's world tilted. No. My father wouldn't. Your father betrayed me. Disappeared before I could make him pay. But now I have you. When he hears his daughter is in danger, he'll come. He doesn't even know I'm looking for him. Maybe. But you serve another purpose. Victor showed her a photo. Her and Taehyun in his penthouse, standing close. Taehyun doesn't have weaknesses. But he moved heaven and earth to find you. That means you matter. And anything that matters to him matters to me. Amara's chest tightened. This was her fault. He doesn't care about me. You're a terrible liar. Victor stood. My men are spreading word. Every informant. Every rival. Everyone will know where you are. He'll come. And when he does, he walks into a trap. You're using me as bait. Very good. Rage replaced fear. You'll get us both killed. Only one of you. Your father's cowardice gave Taehyun a reprieve. Tonight, I will finish what we started. Victor walked away, leaving her with 2 guards. Amara tested the ropes. Tight but not impossible. She'd taken self-defense classes. Could dislocate her thumb to slip free. But if she escaped, Taehyun would still come. Would still walk into the trap. She needed to warn him somehow. Before she could decide, the warehouse door exploded inward. Taehyun walked through wreckage with a gun in each hand. His men had found the warehouse within an hour. One of Victor's people, bought and paid for, had given up the location. Now, stepping over bodies, Taehyun felt rage burning through him. Everyone between him and Amara had paid the price. Victor would pay the highest. Where is she? His voice echoed. Victor stood center, gun pointed at Amara's head. One step closer, and I paint the walls with her brain. Taehyun stopped. His eyes locked on Amara. Bruised. Bleeding. But alive. Relief nearly brought him down. Let her go, Taehyun said. This is between us. It's so much more now. Victor pressed the gun harder. You took everything from me. My partnership with Raphael. My credibility. 2 years I've waited. Raphael betrayed you. Not me. Because of you. He got soft. Developed a conscience. Said you didn't deserve to die. So he tipped you off, and everything fell apart. Taehyun filed that away. Raphael Cruz had actually saved his life? If you're angry at Raphael, take it up with him. Amara has nothing to do with this. She has everything. She's his daughter. The thing he loved most. When he finds out I've killed her, it'll destroy him. Then I kill him. Then you. Everyone who ruined my life dies tonight. Taehyun's mind raced. He had snipers positioned. But Victor was unpredictable. You want revenge? Taehyun lowered his guns. Take it. I'm here. Let her go. Taehyun, no, Amara gasped. Victor laughed. How noble. But I don't want just you. I want you to suffer. He pulled the trigger. The gunshot was deafening. But Amara didn't fall. Minjun's bullet hit Victor's shoulder, spinning him. His shot went wide, missing by inches. Taehyun moved. He covered the distance in seconds, ripping Amara away, pulling her behind him. His men swarmed Victor, disarming him, forcing him down. Get her out, Taehyun ordered Minjun. No. Amara grabbed his arm. Whatever you're about to do isn't for you to see. Minjun, now. Minjun led Amara away. She looked back once, eyes meeting Taehyun's. He saw understanding there. Horror of what he was. But he'd warned her. He wasn't a good man. As the door closed, Taehyun turned to Victor. The Russian was bleeding but conscious. You made a mistake, Taehyun said quietly. You touched her. Threatened her. Used her. Go to hell. After you. What happened next was brutal. Efficient. Final. Taehyun didn't draw it out. Simply ended the threat permanently. When it was over, when Victor lay dead, Taehyun felt nothing. No satisfaction. No relief. Just cold emptiness. Until he walked outside and saw Mara. She stood by the SUV, wrapped in Minjun's jacket, staring at him with eyes that held too much knowledge. It's over, he said. Is it? Her voice shook. Victor said my father tried to save you. That he warned you. Is that true? Taehyun hesitated. I received an anonymous tip the night of the meeting. Told me not to sit at the head of the table. I changed seats anyway. That decision saved my life. It was him. Tears filled her eyes. My father. He tried to fix his mistake. Maybe. And you've been hunting him for 2 years. Yes. The word hung between them. Honest. Brutal. Take me home, Amara said. Amara. Please. The drive was silent. Taehyun sat beside her, watching her stare out the window. When they pulled up to her building, she reached for the door. Taehyun caught her hand. We need to talk. About what? About how I'm the daughter of the man who tried to kill you. About how you would have murdered my father. About how I saved a man who's probably killed dozens. About why none of that changes what I feel when I touch you. She turned. In the dim light, her eyes were wet. How can you say that? Because it doesn't. He pulled her closer, hand cupping her face. You think I care whose daughter you are? The only thing that matters is this. He kissed her. Not gentle. Not soft. Desperate and hungry and full of 2 years of emptiness, finally finding something to fill it. And she kissed him back. Her hands fisted in his shirt. Her body pressed against his. She tasted like tears and rage and something sweeter than anything he'd known. When they broke apart, gasping, Taehyun pressed his forehead to hers. You woke me up, he whispered. Brought me back to life. That's not something I can walk away from. This is insane. I know enough. I know you're brave. Stubborn. That you've searched 3 years for a father who might be dead. That you risk your life to save strangers. That when you touch me, I feel everything I thought I'd lost. Taehyun, I know it's insane. I know your father tried to kill me and I wanted him dead. But right now, none of that matters as much as the fact that I can't let you go. Amara searched his face. What are you asking? Stay with me. Not just tonight. Stay. You mean be with you? A relationship? With a mafia king? With a man who hasn't felt anything in 2 years until you. She laughed, the sound broken. This is the worst idea ever. Probably. You're dangerous. Your world is violent. People just tried to kill us. All true. I should run. You should. But I'm not going to. She looked at him with wonder. Because I feel it too. This impossible connection. So you'll stay? Amara took a breath. On one condition. You help me find my father. I need to know if he's alive. Need to hear why he did what he did. Can you do that? It was the one thing Taehyun didn't want. Finding Rafael Cruz meant confronting the man who'd caused his injury. Meant facing 2 years of rage. But looking at Amara, seeing hope in her eyes, he couldn't refuse. I'll find him. And I won't kill him. You have my word. Why? Why give up revenge for me? Taehyun kissed her again, softer. Because you're more important than vengeance. Because 2 years ago I was cold and empty and would have killed without hesitation. But the man I am now understands some things matter more than revenge. Like what? Like you. Like us. Like building something new instead of destroying remnants of the past. Amara kissed him. Soft. Sweet. Full of gratitude and something deeper. I love you, she whispered. Taehyun's heart stopped. In 34 years, no one had ever said those words to him. No one had ever loved him. Until her. Say it again, he breathed. I love you, Kim Taehyun. I love the monster and the man. The king and the beast. All of it. I don't deserve you. Probably not. But you have me anyway. He kissed her then, pouring 2 years of emptiness into that kiss. When they broke apart, breathless, he pressed his forehead to hers. I love you too. You woke me up. Brought me back to life. Made me feel things I thought were impossible. I'm yours. Completely. Even though I'm the daughter of your enemy? Especially because of that. Fate brought you to me in that alley. Brought the one woman who could heal me. That's not coincidence. That's destiny. Amara smiled through tears. Since when does a mafia king believe in destiny? Since one touch from you resurrected everything I thought was dead. That's not medicine. That's magic. And I'm done questioning it. 3 weeks later, they stood in Montana. The flight had taken 4 hours. Amara spent most of it staring out the window, lost in thought. Taehyun worked on his tablet, but kept one hand on her knee. A constant reminder she wasn't alone. They landed in Billings and drove an hour to a small town that looked frozen in time. Mountains in the distance. Main street with local shops. The kind of place where everyone knew everyone. The opposite of their world. Raphael Cruz's house sat at the end of a quiet street. Small. Blue paint peeling. A truck in the driveway. Do you want me to come with you? Taehyun asked. Amara shook her head. I need to do this alone. I'll be right here. She squeezed his hand, then stepped out. Walking up that driveway felt like walking through quicksand. Each step took effort. By the time she reached the door, her heart was hammering. She knocked. Footsteps. Then the door opened. Raphael Cruz had aged. His hair, once dark like hers, was now peppered with gray. Lines creased his face. But his eyes, those same brown eyes, widened in shock. Amara. She couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. 3 years of searching. 3 years of questions. How did you? He looked past her, saw the car, the man waiting. Understanding dawned. You found him. Kim Taehyun. He found me. Can I come in? Raphael stepped back, letting her enter. The house was sparse. Clean. The home of a man who traveled light. They sat in the small living room. Awkward silence stretched. You look good, Raphael finally said. Healthy. I'm a paramedic now. I save lives. Ironic, considering I'm the daughter of a man who tried to kill someone. He flinched. Amara. 3 years, Dad. 3 years I searched. Thought you might be dead. Followed every lead. Asked questions in places where questions get people killed. Do you know how many dangerous situations I walked into looking for you? I'm sorry. Sorry? That's it. What do you want me to say? Raphael's voice broke. That I'm a coward? I am. That I made terrible choices? I did. That I abandoned my daughter to save myself? Guilty. Then why? Why try to kill Taehyun in the first place? Raphael ran his hands through his hair. Viktor Kozlov promised me power. Territory. A piece of the empire. I was tired of being small time. Wanted to give you a better life. So I agreed to help him take out the biggest player. And then I met him. Face to face. We were planning the bombing, and Viktor insisted I attend the negotiation to confirm Taehyun would be there. I sat across from him, looked him in the eye, and realized he wasn't the monster everyone said. He was just a man protecting what was his. So you warned him. I sent an anonymous tip. Told him not to trust the seating arrangement. Hoped it would be enough. When the bomb went off and he survived, I knew Viktor would kill me. So I ran. Amara felt tears building. And you never thought to bring me? Every day. Every single day I thought about calling. Coming back for you. But I was being hunted. Viktor's people. Taehyun's people. If they'd found you with me, they would have used you against me. Or killed you to hurt me. I couldn't risk it. So you disappeared. Let me think you were dead. I thought you'd be safer thinking I was gone. That you'd move on. Build a life away from this violence. I became a paramedic to find you, Dad. Every shift, every patient, I was hoping they'd lead to information. I built a network in the underworld. Put myself in danger every day. Your disappearance didn't keep me safe. It put me right in the middle of the violence you were trying to protect me from. Raphael's face crumbled. I'm so sorry. I thought I was doing the right thing. You were doing the easy thing. Running is always easier than staying and facing what you've done. The words were harsh but true. Saying them felt like releasing poison. You're right. Raphael stood, walking to the window. I'm a coward. Always have been. That's why I ran from Victor. Why I ran from Taehyun's revenge. Why I ran from you. Victor's dead, Amara said quietly. He kidnapped me 3 weeks ago. Used me as bait. Taehyun killed him. Raphael spun around. He kidnapped you? Are you okay? I'm fine. Because Taehyun saved me. The man you tried to kill saved your daughter's life. The irony wasn't lost on either of them. Raphael sank into his chair. And now? You're with him. Yes. Amara, do you understand who he is? What he does? Better than you do. He's shown me more loyalty in a month than you did in 3 years. The words hit their mark. Raphael looked away, shame written across his face. Does he know you're here? Raphael asked. He's outside. In the car. Waiting. He came with you? He found you for me. Promised not to kill you. Brought me here so I could have closure. Raphael was quiet for a long moment. And his revenge? The rage he's been carrying. He let it go. For me. Then he's a better man than I ever was. Amara stood. She'd come expecting answers. Some explanation that would make sense of 3 years. But all she'd found was a broken man who'd made bad choices and run from consequences. Part of her wanted to scream. To make him hurt the way she'd hurt. But looking at him now, sitting in this small house in the middle of nowhere, living half a life, she realized he was already paying. I'm going back to the city, she said. Back to my life. With Taehyun. Will I see you again? Amara considered that. Could she forgive him? Maybe with time. But could she forget what he'd done? The years he'd stolen? I don't know. Maybe. When I'm ready. I understand. She walked to the door, then paused. Dad? For what it's worth, I'm glad you're alive. Glad you're safe. But I'm not the little girl you left behind. I don't need you to protect me. I've learned to protect myself. I can see that. You've grown into an incredible woman. Goodbye, Dad. Goodbye, Mija. Amara walked to the car, tears streaming down her face. Taehyun was out of the vehicle immediately, pulling her into his arms. She collapsed against him, sobbing. Not gentle tears of relief, but gut-wrenching sobs of grief and anger and disappointment. He didn't ask questions. Just held her. Let her break apart knowing he'd be there to help put the pieces back together. When she finally calmed, he guided her into the car. Told Minjun to drive. Pulled her close as they headed back to the airport. He's alive, she finally said. Living in Montana. Working as a mechanic. Building a life while I spent 3 years searching. I'm sorry. He said he was protecting me. That he didn't want me caught in his mess. But all he did was abandon me. Leave me to deal with the aftermath alone. Taehyun stroked her hair. You're not alone anymore. I know. She looked up at him. You gave up your revenge for me. Let him live when you had every right to want him dead. Why? Because you needed closure more than I needed vengeance. Because the man I was 2 years ago would have killed him without hesitation. But the man I am now understands some things are more important than revenge. Like what? Like you. Like us. Like building something new instead of destroying what's left of the past. Amara kissed him. Soft. Sweet. Full of gratitude and something deeper. Thank you, she whispered. For finding him. For bringing me here. For letting me have this moment even though it must have been difficult for you. Anything for you, Amara. Anything. They flew back to the city in silence, hands clasped together. Amara stared out the window, processing everything. She'd spent 3 years searching for her father. Building him up in her mind. Imagining the reunion. What she'd say. How she'd feel. The reality had been so much smaller than the fantasy. But maybe that was okay. Maybe closure wasn't about grand gestures or perfect explanations. Maybe it was just about knowing the truth and deciding how to move forward. And she was choosing to move forward with Taehyun. Back in the city, life took on a new rhythm. Taehyun ran his empire with the same ruthless efficiency. Made decisions that affected thousands. eliminated threats without mercy. He was still the king, still feared and respected. But every night, he came home to Amara. Sometimes they talked. Sometimes they didn't. Sometimes he just held her, feeling the warmth of her skin, the steady beat of her heart reminding him he was alive. His men noticed the change. Minjun actually smiled when Taehyun walked into meetings. The tension that had defined the organization for 2 years began to ease. "You're different," Minjun said one evening. "Softer. Careful." "That sounds like an insult." "It's an observation. You're still terrifying when needed. But you're also human again." Taehyun thought about that. Human. It was the one thing he'd never wanted to be in this business. Humanity meant weakness. Vulnerability. But with Amara, humanity felt like strength. 6 months after Montana, Taehyun stood at the windows of his penthouse, watching the sun set over the city. Behind him, he heard the shower turn off. Heard Amara moving through the bedroom they now shared. 6 months of having her in his life had changed everything. His empire still ran with precision. He still made hard decisions. Still eliminated threats. But now he had something to come home to. Someone who looked at him and saw not the king or the beast, but just Taehyun. The door opened. Amara emerged wearing one of his shirts, her natural hair loose around her shoulders. "You're brooding again," she teased. "I'm reflecting." "On what?" "On how 2 years ago I thought my life was over. Thought I'd never feel anything again. And now..." He turned to her. "Now I have everything." She walked into his arms, fitting perfectly. Smooth talker. Just honest. They'd built a life that somehow worked despite the impossibility. Amara continued working as a paramedic, though now with security that followed discreetly. Taehyun continued running his empire, but with humanity that had been missing. His men respected him more, not less, for having someone he loved. Enemies thought twice before making moves, knowing that threatening Amara meant unleashing Taehyun's full fury. She'd changed him, made him better, stronger. And in return, he'd given her safety. Love. A place to belong. "I talked to my dad yesterday," Amara said quietly. "How is he?" "Still in Montana. Still living quietly. He asked about you." "Did he?" "Wanted to know if you were treating me well. If I was happy." "And what did you tell him?" Amara smiled. "I told him that the man he tried to kill saved his daughter in more ways than one. That I'm happier than I've ever been. And that maybe someday I'll bring you to meet him properly." "You want me to meet your father?" "He's still my dad. Despite everything. And you're everything. So yes. Eventually." Taehyun kissed the top of her head. "For you, I'd sit through 1,000 awkward dinners." "That's love. That's obsession. There's a difference." She laughed, the sound filling the penthouse with warmth. "Says the man who tracked me down after a single touch. Can you blame me? One touch from you, and the beast clawed its way back to life. You resurrected my desire, Amara. Resurrected me. And you gave me a home. A place where I don't have to hide who I am or where I come from. You took the daughter of your enemy and made her your queen. You were always a queen. I just recognized it first." They stood together, watching city lights flicker on as darkness fell. Two people from impossible circumstances who'd found each other in the most unlikely way. A Korean mafia king who'd lost everything and a black paramedic searching for answers. He'd been broken. She'd been lost. Together, they'd found healing. "What are you thinking?" Amara asked. "That I spent 2 years in darkness. 2 years believing I'd never feel anything again. Never want anything. Never be more than a shell going through the motions. And now? Now I feel everything. Want everything. With you, I'm alive in ways I never was before the injury. You didn't just wake the beast. You gave me a reason to be human again." Amara turned in his arms, looking up at him. "You know what I realized?" "What?" "That night in the alley, when I found you. I felt it too. That pull. That connection. I didn't understand it then. Thought it was just adrenaline. But it was more. It was recognition. My soul recognizing yours. Soulmates? That's very romantic for a woman who saves lives with science. Some things can't be explained by science. Like how your nerve damage disappeared when I touched you. Like how I can feel your emotions before you speak. Like how being with you feels like coming home even though your world should terrify me. She was right. What they had defied logic. And Taehyun had stopped trying to understand it. Marry me, he said suddenly. Amara blinked. What? Marry me. Be my wife. Stand beside me. Let me spend the rest of my life proving you resurrected something worth saving. Taehyun, we've only been together 6 months. I spent 2 years feeling nothing. I know the difference between infatuation and something real. This is real, Amara. You're real. And I don't want to waste another moment not being completely yours. Tears filled her eyes. You're serious. I've never been more serious. I love you. I want you. Not just in my bed or my home, but in my life. Permanently. Officially. Say yes. You're a mafia king. I'm a paramedic. We come from completely different worlds. And somehow we found each other anyway. That's not a reason to say no. That's proof we're meant to be together. Amara laughed through her tears. You're insane. Completely. So is that a yes? She kissed him. Deep. Passionate. Full of promises. Yes, she whispered against his lips. Yes, I'll marry you. I'll be your wife. Your queen. You're everything. Taehyun lifted her off her feet, spinning her around. For the first time in years, he felt pure joy. The kind he'd thought was reserved for other people. But he wasn't normal. Neither was she. And their love sure as hell wasn't normal. It was impossible. Unexpectedly. Absolutely insane. And absolutely perfect. Later that night, as they lay tangled in sheets, Amara traced the scars on Taehyun's back. Physical reminders of the explosion that had changed his life. Do you ever wish it never happened? She asked quietly. The assassination attempt? The injury? Taehyun considered that. 2 years of numbness. 2 years of believing he'd lost a fundamental part of himself. It had been hell. But it had led him here. To her. No, he finally said. Because if it hadn't happened, I wouldn't have been in that alley. You wouldn't have found me. We wouldn't have this. So you're saying my father trying to kill you is actually a good thing? I'm saying sometimes the worst things lead to the best things. The injury broke me. You put me back together. But better. Stronger. More human. Amara smiled. My beast. Your man, he corrected. The beast is part of me, but you didn't fall in love with a monster. You fell in love with a man who happened to have a monster inside. And you fell in love with a woman who happened to be the daughter of your enemy. Fate has a twisted sense of humor. Or perfect timing. She was right. If they'd met any other way, in any other circumstance, it wouldn't have worked. But that night in the alley, with his blood on her hands and her touch awakening something he thought was dead, had been perfect. Impossibly, insanely perfect. I love you, Taehyun said, pulling her closer. Every day. Every moment. For the rest of my life. And I love you. The king. The beast. The man. All of it. They fell asleep wrapped in each other. Two impossible people who'd found an impossible love. A Korean mafia king who'd been broken. A black paramedic who'd been lost. And together, they'd found something neither knew they were searching for. Healing. Home. Hope. And love that defied every rule, every expectation, every impossibility. Because sometimes, the beast needed to be awakened. And sometimes, the one person who could wake him was exactly the person he was never supposed to find. So that's the story of Taehyun and Amara. The broken king and the woman who woke the beast inside him. Their journey wasn't easy. It was messy and complicated and full of impossible choices. But that's what makes it real. Love isn't about perfection. It's about finding someone who sees all your broken pieces and decides you're worth putting back together. If this story grabbed you, if you felt the tension and the heat and the absolute insanity of two people from opposite worlds finding each other, then subscribe. Because there are more stories like this. More characters who defy expectations. More love that shouldn't work but somehow does. Drop a comment and tell me what you thought. Did you see Amara's connection to Raphael coming? Did you root for Taehyun despite his darkness? What would you do if you were in their situation? And if you loved this story, hit that like button. It helps other people discover these tales of impossible love and dangerous desire. Because sometimes, we all need to believe that broken things can be healed, that lost people can be found, that even in the darkest places, love can find a way. The beast is always there. Sometimes, we just need the right person to wake it up. Yendi.